Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. I'm Robin Schwartz. I am the program and art director of the program and grant director. I've only said that like 300 times and I got it wrong. I'm the program and grant director of the Community Arts Partnership of Tompkins County. And Spring Rights Literary Festival is one of our many programs. We're in Ithaca, New York, and our organization serves Tompkins County artists generally. We also have the Greater Ithaca Art Trail, which is artist studios that are open all over the county. We have an artist market on August 9th, and I just posted the applications today. And usually it's visual artists who are at the artist market, which is at our beautiful farmers market. But I also open the market to writers, performers, anyone who has something to sell. So if anyone is interested in being in that event, I will put our website in the chat. We also have a gallery, and we're open on First Friday gallery nights. And we have a vintage art sale, and we have workshops and networking events. And that's all on our website, which I will post. There are a few additional Zoom workshops that are part of our Spring Rights Literary Festival. We have, today's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow we have an event called Existing Beyond the Pen with two artists from Brooklyn and a local artist talking about basically what it means to be a writer. And we have a group reading on Friday, and on Saturday we have stories from students in Cornell's Milstein program in Technology and Humanity. They're recorded student stories. And then at 6 o'clock, we have a bilingual two-voice reading, Collective Monstrosities in the Poetry of Emilia Ayarza de Herrera. And then we have workshops, this is all free, workshops going through August. So let's keep everybody on mute throughout the event. At the end, we'll have a Q&A and we can all take ourselves off mute. Your bathrooms are down the hall. You can leave anytime. And we are recording this workshop. And I'd like to thank our sponsors. Because of our sponsors, we are able to have 40 free events and pay 110 writers. So our sponsors, our wonderful Spring Rights sponsors are Ithaca College, Wegmans, M&T Bank, CFCU Community Credit Union, the Odyssey Bookstore in Ithaca, and the Ithaca Marriott on the Commons. We also receive grant support from Poets and Writers and the Tompkins County Tourism Program. Our media sponsors are The Root, WITH Radio, WSKG Radio, and Cinemapolis. And now I am turning the mic over to Yangzhou Bian, and we'll begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the room reading of Polychromatic Voices, Translation in Performance. My name is Yangzhou Bian. I am a PhD student in Translation Studies at SUNY Binghamton, and my focus is theater translation, adaptation, transcreation, and playwriting / a bunch of other stuff, which is what I do. What the program is about is we have a set of poems that is about the presentation of blackness and whiteness in arts. And the set of poems is a response to this kind of phenomenon that observed in what we are experiencing in participation, presenting, or engaging different voices in arts. I would like to call for more consideration about the different voices rather than just focusing on people's ethnicity, race, and cultural heritage. Thus, we are translating the set of poems, which is about this topic, into 14 and more languages by different people from different backgrounds and of different affiliations to share their cultures and their understanding of what it is meant by collective inheritance. For this event today, we're going to read 4 of the poems from the set of 14, and they are translated by our wonderful translators, Batool, Itzel, Sula, and Jionghao into 4 different languages. You will hear them read the poem in the English language as well as the translated language. And we will also play a song of the poem that is in the source language, which would potentially be included in the performance that is coming. Note this, I will also type it into the chat if you can make it next semester. We will have a presentation in person in Anderson Center in Binghamton University on September the 7th, Saturday, from 7:30 to 9:30. The event is free and it will be featuring the 14 poems and the translator presenters reading those translations in the order of the poems. In between the translations, there will be songs and dances influenced by different cultural elements. There will also be a set of paintings that is based on these poems that would be shared through a PowerPoint during the Sound / multi-element theater on Ghana, I would say. I am posting the link to Google Drive, which you can access the source text and the translated text of the poems we are presenting, as well as a recording of the songs at your layer if you would like. And also, if you are very inspired and you really enjoying this experience, we are asking you to consider to translate the poems, any of them, into the one of your either language or kind of transcreate it in English if you'd like. And the registration form for this translation project is also in the folder. So if you have time, please feel free to check it. Okay, so I just sent out the link and I will type in the information about the performance slightly later in the process. Now we're handing the mic to our amazing translator, Batool, and she will introduce herself and start the wonderful reading.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ya, for introducing me, and thank you for the organizer of this event. I am very delighted to be part of this event. So I am Batool. I am a native Arabic speaker. So I do translation in Arabic and English. I am from Saudi Arabia. I used to do some teaching back home, but now I am in the US. I am also a student at Binghamton University, a PhD student in translation studies. So I'll start with the source text in English. Mocking divulges one's own indifference when making light and making fun of substance. Smirk carries away the discursive exclusion of animal rights activists. The horizon never conceals purported purposes. Being intrusive possesses rightful reasons. The shade quivers. Bitter raindrops smear their lusterlessness into the wilted plumage. Dusk is only wearing a single layer of chills. مستهزئ متملق مستنقص لا مبالي ولا يكاد يكترث لما حوله من مجريات. متكبر متعجرف متغطرس لا مبالي ولا حتى لصرخات ناشطي حقوق الحيوانات. لا الأفق باتساعه يخفي ما يزعمون ولا الحصن بمناعته يحميهم مما يخافون. جرفهم طوفان الغيظ حتى غرقوا فيه ويغشاهم الليل وهم في البرد مرتجفون.
Batool, that is really very lovely. I like your voice a lot.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to play the song of the original text in English. That is what Batool translated into Arabic. Mocking divulges one's own indifference when making light and making fun of substance. Smirk carries away the discursive excursion of the animal rights activists. The horizon never conceals purported purposes, being intrusive poses, right for reasons. The shade creepers, Peter raindrops smear their lusterlessness into the welded plumage. Dusk is only wearing a single layer of chills. Okay, so next we are going to hand the mic to Itzel, and she will introduce herself, and you will listen her translation and the whole process.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Yao. Thank you for having me here. I'm really, really happy to be here. This is a new opportunity for me. Itzel Robles, Itzel Arali Robles Valdez. That's my full name. I'm Mexican. I'm not a translator. I'm an opera singer. I'm a musician. I'm a soprano. But we need to translate all our pieces when we're singing. So we need to sing sometimes in Italian, German, English, French, Spanish. So what we need to do? So Zhao just invited to me to this awesome project, and I'm very grateful for that. I think that we need to find ways to live our arts together. So thank you again. I will start reading the poem that I work on. This was poem number 6, first starting in English and then in Spanish, because my language pair was English, Spanish. Poem number 6. Blood leaks through the strangled nerves. Reminiscence of the other shore. Equinox flowers cobweb the burning sunset. Fire and furies. Rusty maroon. Solidary sanguine. La sangre atraviesa los nervios asfixiados. Reminiscencia de la otra orilla. Flores equinocciales. Telaraña del férvido ocaso. Fuego y furias. Granate oxidado. Sanguino solidario. Short poem, but a good one.
Thank you, Itzel. It's very beautiful. You are definitely a professional musician that I can hear the musicality in the way you pronounce it in both English and in Spanish. Even I understand none of Spanish except one word, which is Espanol, and I don't even pronounce it right. If I butchered it, I am so sorry about that. As you were saying, I definitely agree about this whole process that translation is actually first, it is an art, and it is an art that is open to everybody. You don't have to be trained for so many years just to do it perfectly or to translate it like literally word by word on the point. What I think or my understanding of the translation is a process of inviting and of sharing different voices, sharing different perspectives, and sharing different presentations of us and of our conception of the world and of our experiences added to it. It's not just like the source text or the author's voice, as if he or she is kind of determining everything that is to be presented. But in the process, and it's an ongoing process, we would be able to continually developing the work and giving new lives, more lives to it, rather than just kind of being constrained to this power of the source text. And I really thank you for sharing your perspective. It's really amazing. So now we're going to play this, as Itzel said, very short poems, and it has also a very short song. I would want to tell Itzel. Actually, when I was recording this song, I was thinking about your singing and the kind of texture of the Mexican or not Mexican, Spanish language. If I did it wrong in any way, please excuse me, but I hope you will enjoy it. Okay, now it goes. Blood leaks through the strangled nerves, reminiscence of the other show. Equinox flowers cope with the burning sunset. Fired Paris, rosy maroon, solitary, sanguine. Okay. Next, we will turn the mic to Sula.
Hello, everyone. And Yao, thank you very much for having me at this event. I went through all 14 of your poems. They're beautiful. They're beautifully written. And I like this one I picked for my translation a lot. I'm Sula Mahagam. I'm from Sri Lanka. My language pairs are English and my first language, Sinhala. I'm also a PhD student at Binghamton University studying translation studies. Yeah, and thank you again, Yao, for inviting me for this event. I'll start reading the English poem. Shakespeare's Requiem. A ceremonious curse of the minor keys. Gramophone plays. More than once the repetition of yesterday or the yesterdays, ripping open the same scar that proceeds at every turn of the centuries. Hanging in the grand halls are oxidized mechanics. Pain corrodes the tick-tock, the tick-tocks. Museums, the tarnished clockwork of history. Whose? Missing retina, desiccated lens. Rifts and apertures complete Yorick's ethmoid bones. The dwelling memories of the raven, the skull's unenclosed visual perception, with the unenclosed ooze rots the eyes. And the singular translation. Shakespeareගේ සමුදීම. දුක්බර නදින් වැයෙන මංගල්‍යමය ශාපය. ග්‍රැමෆෝනයෙන් වැයෙන නැවත කියවෙන යට ගිය දවස. හුරු පුරුදු යට ගියාව. ඉරා යලි අරින ලද එකම තුවාලය. යලි යලිත් පැරෙයි ශතකයේ නිමාවක. මහා ශාලාවේ එල්ලෙන මලකඩ යාන්ත්‍රණ. ටික්ටොක් හඬින් ක්ෂය වෙයි වේදනාව. කෞතුකාගාර කාලයෙන් කැලැල් වූ ඉතිහාසය. කාගේද? අතුරුදන් වූ දෙනෙත් වියලී ගිය කාච. ඉරිතැලී විවර වූ යෝරික්ගේ එත්මොයිඩ් අස්තිය. එහේ මෙහේ පාවෙන කපුටු මතක. සංවෘත නො වූ හිස් කබලක රූප පෙළ. සංවෘත නො වූ ඕජස් කලයි කුණු ඇස් දෙසට. Thank you.
Thank you, Sula. It is very nice. Oh, and I also want to say Sula has translated a musical theater, Barahanda, from Sinhalese into English. And it is a fantastic production we had in Binghamton University last semester with everything that is translated from the Sinhalese language and premiered in the United States for the first time. Some of us probably in the audience have seen it and also are performing in that project. And we really appreciate your contribution to the international stage, bringing this piece of great art into kind of to more people. And that is really wonderful. Okay, I'm going to play the song. Shakespeare's Requiem, a ceremonious curse of the minor keys. Gramophone plays more than once the repetition of yesterdays, or the yesterdays, Yesterday's ripping open the same scar that proceeds at every turn of the centuries. Hanging the grand horse of oxidized mechanics, Pencrod the tick-tocks, tick-tocks. Museums, the tarnished clockwork of history. Whose missing retina, desiccated lenses, rifts and apertures, complete Yorick's small wet bones. The dwelling memories of the riven. The scars on enclosed bear your perception. With the eye close whose raw sighs. Okay, so that is the song. And I personally also think why we are including different types of arts like songs, music, dances, which will be there for the presentation next semester, and visual arts like paintings and graphics, is that I believe there is no boundary between arts, just as there is no boundary between cultures and between people. We are able to connect and we are able to appreciate and feel through different mediums and different types of methods of work. Just as the way we should proceed with translation is that being creative and being open to new approaches, new methods, different methods would bring us to kind of a different way of life that we might haven't been able to have imagined just leaving us on our own with our familiar ways and with our familiar practice. And that is something I'm still grappling with as a translator, though, because there is the demand of to what degree you can break free from what is your inspiration, or by what means that is how you are going to envision the whole project, or you are going to rendering it anew, or you are going to kind of admit what it has in itself without just throwing too much and changing it into a completely different thing. There must still be something traceable, and how to kind of balance the account on that is really, really challenging. And Christian, I think probably a lot of translators and even other artists who are kind of taking inspiration from previous works, others' works, or adaptations between genres would be contemplating on. And I hope more people would join the conversation and provide their views on this. Okay. I guess I'm talking so much, but now we're going to hand over the mic to Jionghao, and she will read the translation in Japanese and also the source text, as well as talk about the process, a little bit about how she engages with the project and other perspectives. Now let's welcome Jionghao.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jionghao, and many thanks to Robin and Yao to make this gathering possible. My research interest is about Japanese adaptations of Chinese vernacular fiction. I speak Chinese, Japanese, and English. Today, I'm going to read the 9th poem in this series and my Japanese translation of it, and I will also explain a little about my translation process after the reading. Poem 9. Magnifying glasses and plucking tweezers. Mantle, cupboards, ramages, and tail. The fastidiousness of decadent artists spares nowhere. Cruelty, the #1 supplier of inspirations. In the center of platforms, spotlight dissects the raven and his abused carcass. In the name of respect, in the name of progress, an ethnographical anatomy. the critiques and their overused hypocrisy, the exhibition and its mounted impuissance, taxidermy, skinned ethics, skinned aesthetics. Soaking in formalin is the residue of conscience. Then the Japanese translation. メス、ピンセット、ハサミ、くちばし、風切り刃、足指。成り立った無意の芸術家。残虐さ、崩れゆくインスピレーション。展示台の中央に華やかに照らされるカラスの残骸。尊敬の名に、進歩の名に、解剖する。本心かどうかの賛美、嫌顔の展覧品。剥ぎ取られた倫理、剥ぎ取られた美学。ホルマリンが浸透する良心の斬新。So in my translation process, firstly, in terms of the language and cultural habits, I replaced the anatomical instruments and word body parts in the initial two lines of English with names of equipment and parts more familiar to ordinary readers in Japanese culture. And secondly, Japanese language often omits the subject and differentiates less between singular and plural forms. Thus, I omitted emphasis on the male pronoun for the ribbon and the distinction between singular and plural forms. Moreover, the English version of the original poem contains more noun phrases compared to the Chinese version, which is also written by Yao, same author of the English version. And the English version has more lines consisting of a list of nouns. In my Japanese translation, I further enhanced this trend because noun lists in Japanese sentences can make the sentence sound more rhythmic and clear-cut. For example, in the English line, in the center of platforms, spotlight dissects the ribbon and his abused carcass. Firstly, platforms in Japanese is tenjidai without singular or plural distinction. Secondly, I translated the subject, verb, object structure, spotlight dissects something into a noun phrase, ending with the noun, zangai, carcass, with placed in the center of the platform, illuminated gorgeously, and ribbon as modifying attributives. And thirdly, as carcass, zangai is directly modified by ribbon. The translation doesn't include gender differentiation for the ribbon. However, in the process of transforming the original sentence into noun phrases, I retained one exception in the translation, which is in the name of respect, in the name of progress, kaibo suru, let's dissect. This sentence is located in the middle of the entire poem, with the preceding text emphasizing the ribbon's plight and the following text extending into criticism of connoisseurs. Therefore, I treated this sentence as the only verb sentence in the translated poem, letting it connect the preceding descriptions and open the discussion in the following text, serving as a transitional link. So that's my thoughts about the translation. Thank you very much for your attention and listening.
Thank you, Jionghao. It is very fascinating that you share with us how you approach this set of poems and also the difference between the Japanese language and English language and how you would be able to reform or rearrange it into a way that is comprehensible and also preserves the poetic beauty or what is in the translated poem. I think it is really wonderful. And now I'm going to play the song for the Japanese version. Okay. And for this one, it is very interesting because I didn't actually come up with the tune, but Jionghao had shared with me a link to a very famous Japanese song. It's called Sakura. or what, or it might not be called sakura, but it's just very popular Japanese folk tune. And I listened to it. I think I'm definitely going to draw elements from it to just to reflect the cross-cultural influences and also the influence from the source text to the translated text, as well as the influence from the translated text back to the source text as a new form of art making. So I kind of draw the main phrases from this song and kind of mishmashed it with another Japanese cartoon song and made this kind of mix of the singing of the poem. And also it because of right issues. If you just take a short piece, very short piece from like a song, you wouldn't get into trouble. But if you just make a copy or a cover of it, I might be sued. So that is what is all behind of this. But I hope you will enjoy listening to it. Magnifying glasses and plugging triggers, mentos, coverts, images and tell the fastidiousness of decadent hearted spares nowhere. Kuroti the number one supplier of inspiration. In the center of platforms, spotlight dissects the raven and his abused carcass. In the name of respect, in the name of progress, and ethnographical anatomy. The critics and their overused hypocrisy, the exhibition and its mounted improvements, taxidermy, skin aesthetics, soaking in formalin is the residue of conscience. Okay. And before we turn it to the Q&A session, I also want to read another transcreation or whatsoever inspired poem by the poem number 9, which Jionghao just shared with us. It is actually an English over English. So I am thinking about the question of how to proceed with adaptation. And I do believe actually adaptation is a type of translation, or a translation is a type of adaptation. There is a mutual relationship between it. Because even if you consider it in between language, when you use it as kind of the source or the model for the later work, but you would be able to do changes to it, add on things or remove things that doesn't work as well, or blending in new themes or retelling the story. And I am first going to paste the new poem of poem number 9, which you can actually see in the chat, and then I would read it along, and you can listen to it while we were kind of doing this whole thing. Okay, it will take me a minute. Technology issues. Okay, I would paste it like part by part in stanzas. If I didn't get to read the whole thing, you can still read it on your own, but I'd say this piece of work is getting quite long compared to the quote-unquote original, and it's, oh God, the copy and paste said this message is too long, so I still need to do smaller chunks. It's almost like a little story in this sense. Probably we'll just read part of it. And if you refer to the other document, which you can access from the shared Google link, you can actually see what is preserved and what are new elements that is added to this piece, and what are the changes that has been made. I don't think either one is like a better one than the other, but there are just different approaches to writing poetry or art making, or kind of mixed genre creative endeavor. Okay, now this is the whole thing. Okay, I will start to read, probably I will try, I don't know. Poem number 13, Banquet After the Exhibition. Magnifying glasses and plucking tweezers. Mantles, coverts, remiges and tails. Beak, limb, feet, toes and nails. Heart, brain, lungs, air sac and stomach. The bare fingers of the decadent artist spare nowhere. Cruelty is the foremost supplier of inspiration. In the center of the platform, a shaft of spotlight that dissects the raven and his abused carcass. An ethnographical anatomy, in the name of respect, in the name of progress. The audience and their ignorance, the critics and their hypocrisies, the exhibition and its impatient impuissance. Well dressed in resplendent regalia, posing for the media's flashlight, with thumbs rubbing inside gigantic pockets, and knuckles tapping on the columns of grants. The headlines of patrons and the fancy spellings of their egotistic gestures, and life-size portraits of sponsors in their political postures. The editorial section poses finding upon someone else's losses. Putting aside the newspaper, the husband switches his trophy wife according to the advertisements on the broadcast. The hunter and his trophy animals, songbirds or game birds. The fork holds back the knife to wait for the publishing of the next trend. The salubrious diet prepared through the same hands, the same stovetop, and the same oven racks. Aside from salt and pepper, tradesmen drink the toast to the stalkers of fashion shows. Taxidermy, skinned ethics, skinned aesthetics. A bulging stomach filled with shallowly pickled flesh and overly marinated intestines. In the guest of honor's lap, the hostess raises a spoon and taps the glass, calling for more of the palate cleansers. Plates are emptied away. A bowl is placed on the tablecloth. Tidbits of light quivers in between the candelabra shading arms. Soaking in formalin, the residue of conscience damps the lips on the left side. Joints, disconnects by order of the teeth. A shoulder blade is sent to the ground, looking for the missing neck bone. One foot kicks against the other, fracturing the toes. A sprained ankle is dangling between the chair and its striped legs. Hand towels are offered to be patted with splotches. Hand soap is passed around for the smears, and hand sanitizer for the smut. A gulp of mouthwash, a rising thumb, and a tumbler overturned. Clasped in the chin's double folds, a stout tongue stammers. Damn the inattentive housekeepers, those useless women, how they are all to suffer. Someone get there. Another napkin to wipe the grease beard of the forefathers before getting to this year's picture. What about the bladder? Under the roof of another, who's got the guts? Who's got the nerves to let out the bloating as they prefer? Okay, we actually did it. Hooray! All right. So now we're going to do the Q&A session, and feel free to just unmute yourself or type in the chat if you have any questions or thoughts or comments about this whole event and the upcoming event and the whole process. You can also ask us like how we did it or what we think about it and everything. And even the translators, if you feel inspired or if you want to take over the mic again and share a little bit of how you approach this process, you are very welcome to do so. I'm talking all the time. I feel so sad. Okay, I should be more serious about the event. But anyway, we're all friends and families. Nobody is going to laugh at me, so we're good. Yay. All right. Now, like, if anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free.
Sometimes it's hard to get the questions going. So do you have any questions for each other to get us started?
I have a comment. It's kind of like a feeling. So Yao, you mentioned that for poem 9, the song you refers to two Japanese songs. Well, I recognized one folklore and another one, I guess it's Dango Dai Kazoku. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one is
Yeah, speaking of the adaptation, for the song of poem 9, I recognized two songs rhythm, but besides rhythm, actually for the first song you played, its atmosphere reminds me of the ending song of Spirited Away. If you have any of you have watched that movie. Yeah, it's the atmosphere, not the rhythm. So if you haven't heard that song, I recommend that.
Thank you, Jionghao. Would you mind put the title of the songs in the chat, so if the audience maybe would like to check it later, then they would be able to do so?
Okay, no problem.
Actually, the both Japanese animations I watched in Chinese because I cannot read or write or understand Japanese. But during the process, when I was also researching for preparing this project, I actually found there is a Chinese version of the Japanese folklore Sakura, and that was for the mostly the little children, and it was well translated, so people could actually sing it in Chinese, and I really liked that a lot. And also speaking about making the sounds, sometimes I feel when I was thinking about the poems or how it carries through for me, the meaning, the music just come out. And it definitely could have been a past influence that I might not have registered in my conscious mind. So I would just understand, oh, this should go like this, and then this sounds nice. Okay, done. And then please press record. But I wasn't consciously tracing all those influences for the other songs except for this two because it was intentionally made and as kind of an exercise and a practice. It is also coming out of a personal grudge because I had some training and background in music. I was supposed to finish my associate degree in SUNY Broome as a vocalist, but I didn't do it. I couldn't. I don't know why. I couldn't read the scores. So I decided since I cannot read the scores, I'd better give up and do something else. And then sometimes the training does stay with me. It's just like I cannot translate the music in the language of the notes and like wrists. But I mean, thinking from another perspective, it doesn't really matter that much, even though I cannot be a professional singer by that means, but still I could be able to enjoy music. And that also is something that we could all do on our own, because I suppose a number of us, if not all, are shower singers or like car singers by some measure. So yeah, and I think that is fun to just think about. Anyone else who wants to like post a comment or have some thoughts to share with us?
Did you all meet because you're all part of the PhD program?
I want to hand over this question to Sula since she's not talking too much tonight.
Hi, Yao. Yao, could you please repeat the question?
Oh, Robin, she asked the question, did we all meet because of the translation program? But I think you are the person who knows all of us, so you can talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, you're asking how we all met?
Yes, yes.
I met Yao. I think I met all of the people who are here during orientation. I met Yao during the departmental orientation, and I met Itzel during the international students orientation. But I think I first met Batool during our first class with Professor Martino. And Yao, Batool, and I, and Shabo, we were in a class together in the first semester.
Is a translation program unusual? I mean, do you find them at other universities, or is it very uncommon?
I think it's very uncommon. I think Binghamton University is the first university that started a translation program. And in addition to this program, I think there are very few other universities in the US that has a translation program. I think Batool might know about another university that has.
Yeah, it's very unusual to have a PhD program in translation studies. And I think in the US, we have only 3 programs, including Binghamton. There is a program in Massachusetts, UMass Amherst, but it's not translation studies focused program. It's kind of a comparative literature program. So yeah, it is very unusual. But I have a question to Yao. I mean, you are composing your most, or the one that I know that you compose your poems in English and Chinese. Can you talk about that? I mean, I feel you can be totally 2 different persons writing in 2 different languages, because I guess the metaphors, the kind of how you write poetry in Chinese is not very similar how it is in English. So tell us about that.
Thank you, Batool. I'm expecting this question, and thank you for asking it just to indulge me to talk about it. Because my native language is Chinese, and I actually started learning English when probably later in elementary school, around like 7 or 8 years old, as a required like course discipline in the Chinese kind of mandated like education. And it's definitely much easier for me to think in Chinese than in English. Well, now I'm getting more and more used to it, and I have to for the translation degree, of course. But I mean, when I was translating or writing the poems, it's actually very interesting. I didn't write the whole thing in Chinese first and then translate it into English, but rather it's more like co-developing them together. And sometimes I work like this. So I write a poem in English, or maybe I just write part of a poem in English. And then like I'm stuck, like the writer's block. So I say, okay, I cannot think and write now. So I'm going to do the Chinese version. And then I did the Chinese version. And then when I was doing the Chinese version, because of the language structure and how it works is very different. And you have to find some other ways to express either the same idea. And when you are trying to find this other way, some other different idea come to you. So, okay, I grasp that idea and then put it into the English translation or whatever source text and continue writing the English. I read some more English and I think, that is good one to go back to the Chinese again. So I'm like this back and forth. And though not all of the poems are composed this way, but since I have done a significant portion of both English and Chinese, I think, well, why not? Since I'm studying translation, of course, I need to make it both like English and Chinese. And then it just happens this way. And I mean, what is very interesting about this concept of inter and intralingual translation is that most of us now are doing like interlingual, which is meaning between two different languages. But I find it very fascinating about intralingual translation, like the one we just heard about the poem number 9, with kind of proceeding into more of adaptation or exploration. And there is another poem which is translated by another BU translation study student, Mercury. Unfortunately, she is not here today. Is also into Chinese, and she has both the Chinese version and the English version I did as the reference text. And she did another completely different version of the Chinese translation with that. And her translation differs in the use of the Chinese language. Oh, a little bit of background about the Chinese language is that we have many regional tongues like dialects, as with different other countries. All countries probably have their local tongues dialects that is not exactly identical to one another. And also we have China has a very long history, and from different historical periods, there are like significant transitions between the use of language. Even with us, like as Chinese-born people, if you are not particularly trained in the classic Chinese, it is still very challenging to read or speak in that way. And Mercury did ancient Chinese translation, which is from the modern Chinese I gave her. And I really kind of admire her skills in doing those rhythmic patterns and forming the poetic image with the whole thing. So yeah, that is just something I really enjoy talking about. And thank you, Batu, for giving me this opportunity to talk about it. Oh, and I also have a question to Itzel. So you have been describing about your experience in translating this poem, and you also shared with me. I really appreciate that you enjoyed this process. Would you kind of imagine yourself doing more works of translation, maybe even kind of as a way to introduce stuff from here and to your family and friends from Mexico, or translating some of like works from your culture into English, and for us to kind of keep working on it, and also maybe doing a little bit of interpretation when people are visiting or you are bringing people over to Mexico, because I am definitely very interested in going there with you and your friends. So if you can help me with that, then I would release a lot of stress of having to learn Spanish in a short like amount of time. So yeah, if you can share with us about that.
Oh, well, I mean, I can still doing it. I think that I need to learn more about your art. I think we need to respect all arts, because that's why we are studying. You know what I mean? I can know what you know. So I would need your guidance, but yeah, I can still doing it. My experience is just with my pieces, my art songs, or my music for the operas. We don't need to translate word by word or text and have an interpretation of that. Obviously, we as artists, we need to share our message with you in a way that you can understand what we want to say. So we actually need to do all the work. We have coaches, diction coaches, or we need to study the language, but we don't have translation workshops, for example. We study just the language, like the grammar, you know what I mean? We need to read, and then we go to our coaches and they give us advice of pronunciation or other ideas, because then we have pieces with text from poems, for example, a lot of them, or librettist. So it depends. But yeah, so yeah, my answer is yes. I would love to continue work with you, of course, and all other projects public.
And also your art inspires a lot, like when seeing you on stage and listening your sing and seeing you acting through the songs, it is really a heartening experience. And we really appreciate you would be able to have this evening with us and joining on this daunting translation project, even it's like your kind of first time or like experience, and that is really great. You did great, Itzel. If I'm going to speak from a translator's perspective, I think you did great. Okay, so I think we're about time, and there are also other events, as Robin mentioned, that is coming in the next few days. I also have a room reading on this Friday about short play, which is about two monkeys. And this is totally nothing to do with translation, but it's definitely equally fun if you can spare the time and spread out the word, which we will definitely appreciate that. And I'm also posting this link into the chat. So yes, 1 second. And again, thank you everybody for coming and joining us. And we hope to see you at the Translation in Performance project next fall if you have time. And I'm going to add this. Oh, last thing, the performance at the Anderson Center is co-sponsored by the Broome County Arts Council United Cultural Funds and the Multicultural Resource Center and the Theater Department and the Translation Department and SUNY Binghamton. So we really hope that there would be more people who are willing to join us either as the contributors to this ever-developing large project and as the audience members if you feel like you enjoyed today's reading. Thank you. I'm going to hand it back to Robin, and thank you.